Hey, you guys, welcome to Alex and Andy Live again on the 24th of April, Sunday 24th. We're coming to you live from Shanghai, China, which, as you already know, is under a complete lockdown over the surge in coronavirus cases, which actually this time began on the 1st of March and has been heating up. I'm here with my colleague and co-host, Alex. Alex, how's it going?
Not bad. How are you today?
Yeah, pretty good. Got some deliveries today, which was pretty awesome.
Cool.
I mentioned yesterday that our Tuango was cancelled in our community because of the case. But then today, someone in a new group that was set up mentioned that a supermarket nearby was taking orders online. So I tested it out, ordered some ice creams, chocolate, and chippies, and it worked. Yeah, the delivery came within about an hour. So I just did another big order for like 600 kwai with hot pot, meat, new ropian, and stuff like that. So I got a lot of good supplies, pretty excited. Yeah, that was my day. What about you?
It's good to hear that, and I know I've been able to get a few deliveries, and not just of like veggies and meat, but also some things I wanted, some beverages, stuff like that. And so stuff that I wasn't able to get there for the first, week or week and a half, maybe 2 weeks of this lockdown this month. And so it's good to know, just for anyone who is here and doesn't know this, and for anyone who's not here, we are able to get some deliveries. Obviously, it's not even close to what we normally can in Shanghai.
No way.
Million deliveries, like we get everything delivered. We can't do that now, but we can get a lot of things. So
I do feel like it's coming back. Obviously, like you said, it's nowhere near to the level that it should be or that you would expect from a city like Shanghai, which is world famous. But of course, we are in unprecedented times. The whole city is locked down, 25.6 million. So it's not easy. It's taken about 3 weeks for things to slowly start moving back. So hopefully we'll see that momentum going forward. Just checking some of the comments we have on YouTube coming through. Ingrid says, hello, Ingrid. Yeah, Yelan says, Pudong. Right, that is the view of Lujiazui. One of your favorite sites, Alex?
It is, absolutely is. It's just it's a unique place in the world. There's I believe it's 3 of the 15 or 20 tallest buildings in the world are all right there. And then obviously what's blinking right now, I'm not sure why it's flashing like that, but the Oriental Pearl Tower is sort of the biggest landmark sort of monument in Shanghai. It's the thing that where you see that, you know exactly what skyline you're looking at. And it's just that's why we show it here on our show, because it's a cool thing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I can see the flashing there. We were talking last night about the fact that, we've been here a while. Me, nearly 10 years. You've been here 13 years. And we've got used to a lot of the culture here. But one thing I haven't really got used to is the propensity in big Chinese cities to add all these flashing lights to buildings. I think it's still, my taste still hasn't changed to appreciate it. I kind of like the more subdued kind of lighting, you know, a little bit more simple, a little bit more classy, less color. What do you think, Alex? Are you used to?
I think I prefer the color. I think I like
You
the
like
color. Yeah, because you know it's funny when I see skylines from cities back home. I like a New York or a Houston or an LA, or if I'm looking at a skyline like that, I think it's boring now.
Boring.
The skylines in Chinese cities, not just Shanghai, you know, lots of Chinese cities have some really cool architecture and skylines. I think they've kind of toned it down a bit over the last 5-7 years or so. But I know a lot of the buildings that were up in the early part of last decade were a lot of them were real weird, but in a cool way. Like there's one in, I want to say Guangzhou, that's like a circle. It looks like a coin with a hole in the middle or something. It's like there's a lot of really sort of weird, interesting buildings that were built in China around 10, 12 years ago. And excuse me, because we don't really have those in my country, or hardly at all. And so I find Chinese skylines to be more fun and interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is different. I had a friend from New Zealand come. He said something that I think stuck quite well. He said of the skyline, well, it's a strong look. It is quite strong. And I think that is what they're going for. They're going for the glitz and glam. But Alex, we know full well that right across the Huangpu River there, actually where the shot is taken from, is Waitan or Nga Tie, which is actually the style of lighting I quite like, which is just a single color, staying on, not flashing. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a very Chinese style. So yeah, I mean, maybe 3 more years when I catch up to you, maybe it'll grow on me. A says here they got their first Wai Mai in 3 weeks today, and they're really happy. That's awesome. Good to see. Have you had any more luck in your area, in your Xiaoqi, with deliveries lately, Alex?
And we're doing fine. We can get deliveries from any place that's open. There are a number of different stores that are open. Some of them you need to contact the store directly, and then they can arrange like a shansong, which is like an independent driver. And right now that costs quite a lot. So normally if you order, Wai Mai means like a takeout, but they're delivery for like food or something like
delivery,
that. Not takeout, it's delivery. They deliver it to your door. And like normally if you get some, you know, a meal or some package, the delivery fee will just be a few renminbi, a few yuan. But now delivery fees are way, I mean, they're 50 and 60 and even 100 for things that there's normally like 3 or 4. And so that part of it's a little bit rough, you know, high demand, low supply in terms of delivery drivers, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's why I was so surprised when I got my ice creams and chocolates today, actually, because the price wasn't that bad, to be honest, and the delivery came pretty quickly, which was really awesome. So yeah, I'm happy to have just got. Now I'm seeing we've got a lot of comments, and I'm trying to find. Somebody just asked me. Oh, there we go. Okay, Alamak just asked me what I ordered. Mostly, first thing this afternoon, I ordered some ice creams and chocolates and chippies, potato chips, because I really wanted some snacks. But this afternoon I ordered some more stuff like instant noodles, bread, things. Let me grab some.
Yeah. Well, I've got some bread and I've got some fruit. We made some fruit juice in the blender today with oranges and pineapples and things. So yeah, we've been ordering a lot of food, which I think is good, keeping me healthy. I've been, you know, I was going to say, Andy, I've been having some trouble sort of sleeping regularly. Now that we're in day 24, I find myself up at late hours of the night and tired in the middle of the day. I feel like this whole thing is starting to screw up my circadian rhythm. I'm sort of having trouble staying awake during the day and trouble sleeping at night. I think I need to sort of recommit myself to make sure that I'm trying to sleep regular hours, because I'm a bit of a mess. I'll find myself asleep at 1 p.m. and awake at 3 a.m. and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I think try to fix that because it's not going great. I'm starting to lose. I'm afraid that once we get out of this, I won't be able to get up in the morning anymore.
No, I think you'll be fine. I'm sleeping in the afternoon now for an hour or two every day, which isn't normal, obviously, when we've got normal work, but it's cool. And I go to bed, or go to sleep rather, because I'm in bed pretty much all day. Probably go to sleep at like 1 or 2 a.m. So I think it's fine. But I'll show you guys some of the things I got. These are really good. I don't know where these are from. Orion Pie. Is that Chinese?
We have things like that in the U.S., but I don't think that particular brand is. I'm not sure.
It's really handy for just stocking. It's like little chocolate thingies. Just some random bread. Some like Hong Shao
brand. I have that exact same thing sitting right there. Yep.
Yeah, it's good. Just some random bread things. Oh, and I want to show you guys something else, which is good for hot pot. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, is it the meats or the spices that you put in the hot pot to make to give it its flavor?
Oh yeah, I did get that, Alex. I got some more hot
Yeah.
pot sauce. You need this. This is like yang rou pian, like slices of lamb, which is really good for hot pot. I got heaps of these. And also,
cool.
if you've been to China, or I think actually some other Southeast Asian countries have this place too.
Yeah.
There's a Haidi Lao, like a really famous hot pot company. This one is like it's got like the army packaging inside that can. It's like it's
it heats up by itself. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that they use in the army. So this is really good quality, but it's not cheap. It's like 50 kwai, about $8 US. But it's worth it, I reckon. So yeah, it's some of the stuff I ordered. I'll chuck this back.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, I've just got a bunch of. I got kiwis, pears, apples, lemons, oranges, and then our Wu Ye sent us a pineapple in one of the care packages, which is really random. But I was like, all right,
this time of year.
So I went ahead and made some juice with it.
Oh, nice. No, that's really good. I wish I had some fruit for juices, but at the moment, no. What I did last time when our workplace sent us some supplies, they sent a box of strawberries, and I was like the last delivery because our Shanghai Daily has about 120 staff. So we ordered one driver to deliver all the stuff around, and I was near the end. So my strawberries were totally smashed up. But I made strawberry jam, which is the first time I've done it myself, and it was actually really good. So yeah. I think things are going pretty good. Oh, we have a super sticker here. Australian $50 from Precious Jewels again. Thank you so much. If you have a question or any specific comment you want to make, let us know and we'll put it up. But I think, Alex, we better switch to our colleague who's been waiting on the line because we better talk about some of the news from today. We did have new numbers, obviously, and also some bad news, but he can tell us all about it. So here is our colleague, Yang Jian.
Hello. Hi, Andy. Hi, Alex.
Hi. Good to see you today. So, we're just going to ask you a few questions about sort of the updates. So the first thing is, obviously, the number of infections are just sort of, staying around the same number. We did see a short dip and then a rise, but it's a pretty high number. And so we heard that the high number of daily infections may be related to some factors other than just common community spread. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, sure. The number of Shanghai's daily new cases remain above 20,000 on Saturday, and despite a 5-day decline early this week. And so the official from the city's health commission said this morning that the number of new infections is fluctuating at a high level. So everyone in the city must fully understand that the situation is still complicated and tough. And he explained that most of the new cases, like you mentioned, they are not common community spread, but popped up mainly at local construction sites and companies. And a resurgence of infections were found among gatherings of people at these two places. So he said local construction sites and the companies have been required to enhance health monitoring, COVID screening, environmental disinfection, and self-protection among their workers and employees. And however, there are some good news today, and that is most of the daily infections were found among those who are already under central quarantine, which means the number of community infections keeps declining in the city. And on Saturday, for instance, only 280 cases were found during the PCR screening, which is only like 1.3% of the total infections yesterday. And so to achieve the zero community transmission, he said that the city will continue its antigen plus PCR testing. And like we mentioned before, once PCR testing every day for the locked down areas, and once every other day for controlled areas, and the daily antigen for the precautionary areas. And he asked the citizens to understand and support the government, since there might be some complaints and fears of cross-infection during the PCR screening. So he explained that the PCR screening remains the key strategy to control the source of infection, cut off the transmission, and protect the vulnerable groups, which are the three key principles to put any pandemic under control. Alex.
Yep, thanks. That makes a lot of sense. That that the number of community infections would be going down because of lockdown.
Yeah.
Hey, Yang Jian, I wanted to ask you about the death toll, because we saw some bad news this morning that yesterday's number was about, I think if my math is right, about 3 times higher than the day before. So do you have any new information? And also, have they mentioned any way they're going to try and curb this growth in the death rate?
Yeah, the total death toll of the pandemic in Shanghai since March the 1st has reached 87, they announced this morning, as of Sunday, and they include 48 males and 39 females. And the officials said they had 3 points in common. One is the senior age. The fatalities had an average age of 81, and the oldest aged 101. And the second is they all had one or multiple severe underlying health conditions, such as tumor, heart disease, brain infarction, diabetes, and uremia, which were the direct causes of their death. And due to the underlying diseases, their conditions worsened rapidly after being sent to hospital. And the third point is the low vaccination rate, which is also mainly because of their underlying diseases. And only 5 among the 87 had been vaccinated. So the city officials said that they will try the best to reduce the death rate among the city's COVID infections, with 1, participation of more medical experts, 2, the applications of TCM, and 3, a push for vaccination among the eligible seniors. So nowadays, a third of the COVID-19 patients at the city level designated hospitals are over 17 years old. And most of them have one or several underlying diseases, and most have not been vaccinated. So to ensure their survival, the city government announced today that like over 700 medical experts in various specialties have been arranged to base at the city's COVID-19 hospitals, and as well as the makeshift hospitals. And online consultation meetings are being held every day to work out the most suitable treatment plan for each of them. Andy.
Yang Jian, thank you so much for filling us in again today. We will see you again this time tomorrow.
All right, thanks. Yep.
Well, really solid information there. I think, what he's saying about the numbers is interesting. He said the fatalities include about 48 male patients and 39 females. So it's a bit of an even split there. But I saw the oldest age was about 101 years old. So, they all had underlying conditions that are quite common with people around that age. But I'm wondering what we're going to be doing to push vaccination rate up in this current situation. A lot of people have asked whether we could coincide, the PCR tests we're doing and this lockdown with vaccinations. I'm not sure why that's not happening. I'm not an expert, but have you thought about that?
I have. I know that I've actually had just private conversations with a couple of people that do know quite a bit about medicine, as I don't. But one of the things that makes that difficult is that the vaccine has to be chilled in storage. And so so you can't just have a vaccination site at the same place that they just do PCR testing and things like that, because of the way that the vaccine has to be stored. But at the same time, they did have different vaccine sites around the city. I remember, this is,
on the streets. Yeah.
In 2020 and 2021, obviously before what we're going through now, there were all sorts of just when I say 2021, there are all sorts of little stands, and there was one right outside the subway station that I usually use. And it was vaccine sites there. I mean, I'm sure that they definitely had special setups for the vaccine storage as opposed to the PCR tests. One of our viewers, Lao To here, says, but it's difficult to push for vaccinations when you've got certain illnesses that are not compatible. That is true. There's always going to be a portion of the population that is unable to get vaccine for medical reasons, but that's much smaller than all elderly population, we is something like 62% vaccinated here in the city, and it's 38% of them don't have underlying medical conditions that preclude them from getting vaccinated. So yeah, but again, just to sort of sum that up, yeah, I think that there might be a storage issue, but I do agree that, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity during lockdown to make sure that everyone's vaccinated. And it's also important because, you know, I think that's the number one group of people, if I understand this correctly, that we're trying to protect, because they're the group of people that are most vulnerable to COVID, just as they would be vulnerable to influenza or any other illness, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I think what you said is probably a big part of it, a big factor in that. Doing the vaccinations requires a lot of care. Obviously, here in China, once you get vaccinated, you have to wait around in the health clinic or wherever you're getting vaccinated for about half an hour to make sure there aren't any adverse reactions. But if you've got people all sitting around together during an outbreak like we're seeing now, that is obviously not ideal in the least. So I can imagine that's probably a significant factor. But I did see in a report we did maybe a bit over a week ago, somebody, I think in one of the videos we played, was talking about getting people in the areas that are a little bit more open now to head down to local health clinics and consider getting vaccinated. But like you said, it is definitely still a problem within the elderly population. Some people were saying not all elderly people can get vaccinated because of underlying conditions. But like you said, that would not be anywhere near a majority of the people who haven't been vaccinated. So I think there's other factors there that probably the city is already working on figuring out. I think, if anything, fear is a great way to push people who are eligible to get vaccinated to do so. So I think with this lockdown we're seeing now, and now we have 87 deaths, the vast majority with elderly people and underlying conditions, they may feel the desire now to actually go and get vaccinated, which I'd hope to see.
Yeah, definitely. Again, you know, the city has said that they're the group of people that were that group of people is the number one reason why we're doing this. Has an elderly relatively aging population. I think the median age in Shanghai is higher than it is in most places in the world. So yeah, I think so it's definitely important that those people get vaccinated, because as we're seeing, you know, the statistics are bearing out that we're not seeing it from Omicron. We're not seeing a whole lot of sort of fatalities or any tragedies like that occurring amongst younger people. It's all amongst sort of the elderly. Yep. So it's important that we get that sorted out as quickly as possible, right? So that we can try to see.
Oh, there we go.
You got it?
Got it. Yeah, sorry, my mic went down. No, it's very true. So I'm really hoping that I think some more areas of Shanghai have been released into what's the word? You know, they're allowed to go outside now. So I really do hope those people will do so. We're going to play a video if I can find it. Unfortunately, the videos weren't completely ready.
That's okay.
Before, so
I'm just downloading for the elderly. The video about that. Up in Chongming.
Yeah, we have a video about Chongming Island, which looks pretty good. I'm just saving these now and bringing them in. To our boss, who I know is watching, this is the way we need the videos before we go live. If you guys can try and...
Chongming Island is sort of one of the most suburban areas of the city. It's actually an island, a long-shaped island that's right at the Yangtze River Delta, right there, or the Changjiang, as we say it in Chinese, the river. And it's part of Shanghai's municipality, so it's been under lockdown as well, although the population density there is much, much, much lower. It's a much more rural sort of place. I know I've been there a few times. I went there last year once actually earlier this year, for a nice sort of rural getaway birthday party that a friend had. But they've been under lockdown. Oh, here we've got it. Okay. Yeah, there it is. You see that?
You lived in Nantong as well, didn't you?
I did. Nantong was not my first city in China, but the first city I really lived in. I was in Nantong for 5 years before I came down here to Shanghai. Yeah, great city.
Awesome. I went last year, at the end of last year, for the first time. If you guys aren't familiar with the geography, this is Shanghai, obviously. Yeah. We're in the city center. If you come right down here, this is Pudong. This is where Pudong Airport is. So if you've flown in from overseas, you would have come to around this area and then taken a train or taxi or a bus or whatever it is into the city center. But we were just talking about Chongming. Chongming Island, which is this island here, which is one of Shanghai's 16 districts. And as Alex said, and as you can see, it's considered quite remote. It's actually quite far away
from the Shanghai point of view. Yeah, everything is remote except if you're not in the city center from the Shanghai point of view. But they were kind of urbanites. But anyway, but Chongming Island is a part of Shanghai's municipality, and it's a much more rural area. So they're having fewer problems in terms of COVID right now. I mean, they were still under lockdown for quite a while, but they've been among the first areas in the city's municipality, within the city limits, to sort of start to be able to move around a little bit more freely and not be as locked up.
Exactly. And Mansana just said this looks so much like Manhattan. I suppose it is kind of a similar shape, especially with this bit of water here that's kind of separates it. Yeah, pretty awesome.
It does not look like Manhattan up there at all.
Jeremy Joe says, are many expat thinking of leaving Shanghai after this lockdown? Actually, yeah, a lot of people have been saying they are probably going to consider leaving after this lockdown. I think, everyone has a different opinion. Of course, we were saying the other night that, even after this, even after we've got down to zero COVID with this outbreak here in Shanghai, I think people are going to be on edge, especially with memory of this lockdown. Maybe life will be a little bit more, strict in certain places. Maybe we'll be required, like in Shenzhen recently, who had a breakout there, which is cleared up during that time. And even today, I think they are required to have 48-hour COVID test results to go anywhere, like malls or restaurants and stuff. So we could start to see life in Shanghai, not quite back to what it was in the past 2 years. So a lot of people are considering leaving. Alex, a few people who are considering leaving, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a lot of. I am happy to be both part of the local community with a lot of local friends that I spend time with, but also the international community out here. And a lot of people are frustrated, understandably so, especially those people who maybe haven't been here for as long of a time as some of us. And they see it as sort of like an unfathomable thing that could never happen if they're in their home countries. But there are even a lot of people that I know have been here for a long time that are frustrated. Maybe some people that were considering leaving that are now making that decision. And everyone can make that decision based on their own personal situation. I mean, I'm going to be staying. But it depends on how you feel. I understand that there are different people have to consider different things, and that's great. And I do think there are a lot of people who are just saying that out of frustration right now. And I think once this is all
people are pissed off.
They'll forget. They won't forget that it happened. And you just made a good point about there's an uncertain future after this. Even after we're allowed to go outside again, for how long will it be until we can actually get back to normal without having to do a COVID test every other day, or not being allowed to go into any pub, restaurant, or football game or concert? Like, when are we going to be able to do fun things again? And I don't know what the answer to that is. And so that's a bit depressing. But at the same time, I do think a lot of people are going to sort of calm down once this, I hope so, if this ends within a reasonable time frame. People will calm down a bit and sort of just kind of be like, all right, well, that sucked, but we can go back to life from now. I think a lot of people that are talking about leaving will. I also think a lot of people that are talking about leaving will not. So that's my 2 cents about that.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure, because I haven't seen any situation in the time I've been here where people have been so peed off. So I'm hoping that people will just calm down, like you said, after this is over and when life gets slightly back to normal again, and stay on. I think Shanghai will return to its former glory. Obviously, we're in a tough time right now, but hopefully people will 坚持下去, 继续奋斗, stick at it. I'm going to play that video, Alex, really quickly, because it's about what we were just talking about. I don't want to get off target, but we're talking about the vaccination drive getting back on track. And of course, we just showed you a map of Chongming Island, which has already been more or less released or got down to COVID zero in the community sense. So they are starting to open up a little bit and getting back to doing vaccinations, especially for that vulnerable group. So let's check out this video that was filed today, and then we'll have a chat about it. Wait, that's not the video.
Let's try it again. Which video is that? Oh, that's the supermarket video. We'll show you this video.
Yeah, this is the problem with getting the videos.
We'll show you this video a little bit later. This video is about a supermarket that is back and running and is doing a lot of good work in terms of providing goods to their nearby communities who are in lockdown. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. The video Andy's looking for right now is the one about Chongming Island. So we'll see if we can.
Yeah, sorry about this, you guys. The videos weren't ready because we're actually out and about on the streets doing these, putting these reports together. So the video has been filed. I found it now. Here it is. We'll check it out and then we'll come back.
All right.
年纪嘛大的，那我就健康那么差的，也让当这个有没有呢？对我们的老年身体健康保护好。
肯定有好处，对不对？要做到了，对不对？肯定嘛，都你做了，
增加免疫力，增加自己体质很好。
叫什么名字？啥名字？
Well, nice. Good to see. They're really getting back into it. And as I saw in the video there, it said that some of them were getting vaccinated for the first time. So obviously they are eligible for vaccination and they just haven't done so for whatever reason. Everyone has different reasons. But I think, you know, if there's a silver lining to this outbreak here in Shanghai, it is that we can get some more of the vulnerable population, push them, make them feel the impetus to get vaccinated, which we're seeing there.
Yeah, I think you know, it's because China after the Wuhan outbreak in early 2020. After that, you know, China really hasn't had a lot of severe COVID outbreaks up until now, and so people in a lot of places, in Shanghai included, really sort of never saw with their own two eyes, you know, in their own communities, and the impact, of COVID up until this point. And so I feel like a lot of people, you know, it's a sort of like out of sight, out of mind sort of thing, where it was a problem for, you know, like in other countries, I know like in my country, in the USA, for example, by the time the vaccine was developed, so many people had already gotten COVID and it was already out of control. And so a lot of people were like, all right, like there was no question for a lot of people about the importance of getting the vaccine because COVID was right up in their face. Whereas in Shanghai, we didn't really have that until now. And I think a lot of people are sort of who didn't get vaccinated before are kind of saying, oh, well, yeah, when I can get out of here, I'll go ahead and get that done now because they can see what's happening, you know, in their own communities.
You know, and it's a good point. Before, you know, it was hard to see any suffering here in China, especially here in Shanghai, in terms of COVID-19. So you guys, if you're watching, you might remember our colleague Emma Leaning. She's a British national. She caught COVID-19 last month, I think, or early this month. And believe it or not, she is the first person I knew in China, anywhere in China, personally, that caught COVID-19. So that's how much we have been removed from COVID for the last 2 years. China's numbers have been extremely low, and a lot of people from overseas, including some friends and family, have said to me, you know, it just can't be true. It can't be true. The numbers have to be fake, but it's really not. It has been the case that COVID numbers have been extremely, extremely low here. So this is why this lockdown here in Shanghai and these cases we're seeing, Yang Jian said before, around 20,000 new cases. This is something totally new for us, something totally scary. You know, people in other parts of the world have more or less been through this. We're just catching up now, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a weird situation.
Yeah, it definitely is, and so like I say, it's really good to see some people getting out and getting the vaccine now. Yeah. I did want to comment just sort of on a lighter note. A lot of the elderly people here in China, they don't really speak a lot of Mandarin. I don't know if any of you are Mandarin speakers, and maybe not from China. I couldn't really understand what they were saying. It's because they were all speaking in Fangyan or dialect, and you'll find that
Right.
a lot of the elderly people in China, no matter what, not just in Shanghai, but everywhere in China, don't really speak a lot of Mandarin. Maybe they can, or they just opt not to. They find it much more comfortable just to speak in their local dialect. And so that's what you heard everyone in that video doing as well. So I have a tough time understanding it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of those elderly people, like you said, they were from a time where speaking their dialect was the major language. So now in Shanghai, for example, there's a few versions of Shanghainese. And it's not really spoken in a formal setting in schools, on TV, or anything like that. So people really, if they speak Shanghainese, they'll just do it at home or at work with their Shanghainese friends. And in Shanghai, it's quite interesting because even though the city's, local language is Shanghainese, the lingua franca, is that how you say it, is definitely Mandarin. It's Mandarin. So if you meet somebody in Shanghai, you must automatically assume, and people do to be polite, that they do not speak Shanghainese. So you'll meet a stranger, and first things first, you'll speak Mandarin with them. Later on, within a few minutes or a few seconds, you may find out they're local. Then you could switch to Shanghainese. So it's definitely thing.
The only exception would be if that person is like 70 years old or older. Then they're probably just more comfortable speaking in Shanghainese. Of course, I have a tough time communicating with people that are of that advanced of an age over here, but speak Chinese. I only speak Mandarin. And if they don't really speak Mandarin that well, then it's kind of hard to talk. But, that's one reason to learn the local dialect. And, just sort of an interesting thing I noticed.
Yeah, no, another interesting point to do with that is we have the WeChat groups, obviously, for our Xiaoqu, our community. And we have one for our little area, which is about 20 apartments. And the volunteer woman, she lives downstairs. She's Shanghainese, obviously. Every time she tells us to come down for a COVID test or anything, she'll send a voice message in the group. It's just completely Shanghainese. And every day people will remind her, because there's people in our building. Of course, I'm the only foreigner, but there's also other Chinese here who don't understand. So they're like, Auntie, don't forget, please speak in 我们听不懂. So yeah.
That's very interesting because, a lot of people maybe who aren't that familiar with China might not know that, it isn't like having a different accent. The United States is a really big country, about the same size as China in terms of area. And we have lots of different accents in different cities and states and places, from north, south to the east, west. People have very different accents, but they can all they're all mutually intelligible. You can
understand.
But in China, it's not like that. Like if you speak Shanghainese and you go 3 hours in any direction, the people there will have no idea what you're talking about at all. So and some dialects are easier or more for example, some dialects are more sort of in line with Mandarin. They kind of sound like Mandarin, and some of them are just like, it might as well be Japanese, it might as well be Arabic. You can't understand it at all. And so even though it's the same language written in the same way, so it's kind of a weird thing in China where the dialects are just so vastly different because of the long history of the development of these languages, that these language bubbles developed over these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And now people from 2 hours up the road can't understand anything that you're saying if you speak in the local dialect. So.
Yeah, no, definitely, it's true. I think there's 6 or 7 language families in official in Chinese languages. There's more than 100 dialects. Actually, we don't even know how many there are. There's so many. A lot of them, like you said, fall under the Mandarin family. So, for example, Sichuanese, Chongqinghua, it's you can kind of understand it because it sounds similar to Mandarin. But like you said, to most people in China, Shanghainese sounds like Japanese or a completely different language. And also, you made an interesting point. If you drive 2 or 3 hours up the road and speak Shanghainese, people won't understand. Even within Shanghai, if you go from one side of Shanghai with a certain type of Shanghainese and then go to 50 kilometers away and speak a different kind of Shanghainese, they may have trouble understanding you. So it's just it's something, us, like you said, in the West, especially in the US, with different accents. New Zealand, not so much, but we all speak English and we can all kind of figure out what everyone's saying. Completely different here. Anyway, we went right off track, Alex. I think we better move along and get to another video.
Okay, we've got more news to talk about as well. We mixed some news conversations. I think it doesn't all have to be COVID. But anyway,
You're
back
right.
to COVID.
No, actually, check out this thing that we brought up yesterday, which is quite interesting. A little kind of, do you say zine? It feels like to me, with these little,
I don't know what you would call it. Little
let's try and
info
find
dump.
Oh, it's not loading. One sec, let's bring it up. This is available on shine.cn, which is our Shanghai Daily website. You can also get it if you subscribe to us on WeChat. You'll get it sent to you every morning. Here's an interesting one that I saw this morning, Alex. Citizens are being asked to avoid putting disinfectant into the sewers because it will not prevent COVID-19 infection, but will corrode pipelines and pollute the environment. There's an extremely low possibility that the virus could be transmitted through sewers as long as there is no air link with neighbors. Now, that's a big one because I know people were saying, be careful when you flush the toilets because some COVID might blow up. But yeah, I guess people are thinking they can tip disinfectant down the sewer. Have you heard of this, Alex?
I have not heard of anyone doing that. Obviously, sometimes in order to clean the drainage systems, people will pour. There'll be certain chemicals that are used, but those are ones that are specifically designed for these systems so they don't corrode the pipelines, pollute the environment, and etc. And so don't just dump anything down the sink or the sewer or into the sewer system because it could cause problems if it's not intended for that purpose.
Right. And another funny thing, people tip down the toilet, which I found when I had a friend staying over. A Chinese friend stayed at my place for like 3 weeks. He made hot pot and then tipped it down the toilet, the oil, and I was like, what the hell? And he didn't even wait. It was cold. Like if you waited till it was cold, at least the oil would kind of solidify and you could scoop it off. But he tipped it down when it was still hot. So as soon as it hit the water, it like turned hard and like stuck up the side of the toilet. So don't do that, you guys.
No, don't do. And the other thing is that pouring a lot of those oils those oils get into sewer systems in urban environments, and they create these big. It's kind of gross.
Problem.
They call. I don't even want to get into the details because it's pretty disgusting, but it creates these blockages in the sewer system. So don't do that.
Don't do it. Here we go. You were talking before, Alex, about the amount of rumors we've had to clear up on Shanghai Daily. We have some dedicated staff who are dedicated just to finding online rumors and correcting them here. So, Alex, do you want to read this one?
Well, I just want to sort of give a brief background before I get into it. It's just sort of like, if anyone who's been on social media around here lately understands that, in the WeChativerse around here has seen dozens and dozens to hundreds and hundreds of different rumors. Some of those things turn out to be partially true, partially false, maybe mostly true, maybe totally made up. And it's really sort of hard to parse it. And so we've been trying to sort of get more information from the source to find out which of these things are true, which of them are not. I think it's just we're in an environment where things are ever changing. There's, unfortunately not a ton of transparency all the time about what's going on. And then as well, in addition to that, just because of the nature of the situation, it's people don't really know what's coming next. There's just a lot of uncertainty and in some cases panic, worry, anxiety. And so kind of like a rumor factory right now because of all that. So with that said, let's have a look at this one. It says an online rumor that a man had made tens of millions of yuan in just 1 month by selling daily necessities at high prices has been dismissed by Minhang District Police. It looks like he was just flexing his cash there. You know how like they do on social media. I don't do it as much around here, I don't think, but maybe whatever. In any case, I guess rumors started that he was getting that money from jacking up the price of goods and gouging. We know that there has been some price gouging going on in the city, and the authorities here have really cracked down on some of that. I was talking, expressing concern about things like getting rides to the airport right now. They're absolutely insane prices being quoted for that, and it's some unscrupulous people taking advantage of people's desperate situations. And it looks like this guy was just being a fool and wasn't actually doing that. So.
Yeah, but I think it's important to kind of correct these, even though this might seem a little bit, pointless. It is important because these things do get out of control. I don't know about this one, maybe not that important, but there's other ones that are quite important that talk about food safety and things like that. So it is important to sort those out. I just want to check. I'll bring up the viewer of Shanghai while I check the comments on our WeChat group. Okay. This one made me laugh. Graham said, I left an anaconda in the bowl this morning. Interesting. Thank you, Graham. That's nice. And Shenke Panda said, don't talk about this when I'm having my dinner. So yeah, a lot of gross talk there, you guys. But yeah, we're going where the conversation takes.
We'll move on from that.
But yeah, what I'll do, because we were just talking about food and stuff, I'll bring up this last video we have today, which is, I don't have any information here. My notes from the producer just says a supermarket. So let's take a look at.
I know a little bit about it because I did I was looking at it earlier, but yeah, we'll watch it and then we can discuss it.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
在市区降桥进货的，然后不是封控了嘛，然后我们就是崇明公司，组织我们在公司里面就是租了一个大的仓库，就是备货应该没问题。这些货都是我们公司来的，政府接单，然后我们统一的那个配送，个人不能买，对，保供都是这个模式，对，就是无基础的。
东西以后，他就是我们超市这个码给他的。然后他支付就我们中间人，我们政府的不经手的，现金不经手，他们拿到东西以后，那个是干嘛自己扫码支付，
那么他们就自己提他们想要的东西，
想要的我们弄个经商文档，各个程序挂在上面，共享让他们自己填单子。
Oh, nice! That video made me miss some of our colleagues because I heard some voices in there. 3 people that are our colleagues. I heard Gao Lao Shi, I heard Qi Qi, and of course Jack or Zhou Shenjie filmed the video. So that was really cool. I'm kind of jealous because they get to drive around town and put together these stories, which would be really awesome in this unique time. I would love to be seeing how, average Shanghai people are getting along, how the city is returning to normal again, like we just saw there, Alex, with the supermarket.
Yeah, definitely. I know that they are out there working hard to get the scoop on everything that's going on and just some different stories of different people in different walks of life. I know Jack has been really busy going around the city, and he's been making a lot of videos, interviewing a lot of different people, different walks of life. We had the story about the delivery driver. That was him as well. And so, yeah, he's really, all of them are really getting out there and doing a good job, which is really awesome. And yeah, and so, yeah, it's good. And also that supermarket, it's cool. That's in Chongming as well. It appears, or is in Jinshan, or I guess I think that's a supermarket that has different markets around the city. And in Jinshan and Chongming are 2 of the suburban or more rural sort of areas that are now allowing people to move around a little bit more freely. And so it seems like they're able to distribute goods much more efficiently out there. So.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I just, like I said before, I kind of wish I could be going around with those guys, but I'm not envious of them sleeping in the office. So the team that put that video together are sleeping, like we've mentioned before, in the Shanghai Daily office. They have sleeping bags. I guess they're sleeping on chairs or something. Actually, Alex, I think it would be quite cool if we could connect with those guys in the office, maybe on tomorrow's show. Okay. And just see what it's like living in the office, because they've been there day 24. They've been there nearly a month living in the office.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I wonder if any of them regret volunteering to do it, because when they volunteered to do it, it was only meant to be 4 days, and now it's 24.
Right.
Any of them are regretting it.
But I think I already had an inkling that it wouldn't be 4 days. So, and also Jack went in, I think about a week or 2 after the lockdown. So in fact, Alex, I think you know this as well. We talked about it in one of our work meetings recently. If anyone from Shanghai Daily wants to volunteer to go into the office, they can do so, but they need to stay there. Obviously, you can't go back to your xiaoqu. It was really funny because we had a conversation early on. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but it's a funny story, where our bosses were asking us, how's everyone going? Do you have enough supplies? Blah, blah, blah. And one of our colleagues said, all I've got is heaps of instant noodles, which is quite boring to eat every day. And the boss said, you can come and live in the office. You'll get 3 meals a day supplied by the canteen. And he was like, maybe not.
They got plenty of food in there. I know that they got plenty. They're not wanting for any supplies. That's for sure.
No, not at all. No, which is pretty good because our office, for those of you who don't know, is a bunch of newspapers all together. So of course, media is one of the essential industries, so it needs to keep running. So every level of our building is still running. It's like a little city in there. So they have also the canteen on the 10th floor, supplying everything they need, which is really awesome. But yeah, I really want to connect with them tomorrow and maybe chat with them. What do you reckon, Alex?
Sure, let's do it.
I think probably Jack will say no because Jack's not keen about going on camera. But we'll ask Golosh, if you guys are watching now, sort it out. We're going to be hassling you guys tomorrow. Somebody just asked, Alamak, how come we never see your cats, Andy? Let me go find one. Alex, you got cats there too.
Yeah, mine are both right here. Here, come here. You're going to oh, yeah. Here we go. Cats. She's not camera shy. Here we go. All right.
I can hear your kitty.
Yep, she's here.
This is Bai Su Zhen. She, I got her when she was a kitten. Hello,
Right.
say hello. Because she was home, someone found her on the street and brought her to the local pet store, and they were asking who wants to adopt her. So that was me. Hey, I'll put you down.
Yeah, same for this cat as well. Same exact situation.
I think that's the situation for a lot of foreigners here in Shanghai. It's seen as quite a taboo to buy a cat from a pet store. If you do that, you better keep it secret because people are going to come for you.
Well, yeah, I'm not really. Like a lot of people do buy animals from pet stores. I found that in China, and I'm not really sure if this is just if this is like an actual phenomenon or something I've noticed. People tend to prefer to get dogs, but also cats of like a certain breed. And people will pay a premium for certain breeds of dogs and cats. I know we have that where I'm from, but less so for cats. I think people just kind of get but also dogs too. People just kind of get the animal and then just, or adopt an animal from the street or whatever. But I think that's less common here. It is more common for people to get, to get like a special kind of animal. Whereas I think for those of us in the international community, we don't really tend to do that. We just tend to like find an animal and then adopt it. Which is, I know so many of my friends have done that, and I've done it too. So,
yeah, exactly. Especially if you're a cat person. Somebody just mentioned they're a dog person, but if you're a cat person, Shanghai has so many cats on the street, and they're really well looked after. They're fed by people every day. Maybe not now, but really, if you want a cat, you will just find one. See if you've got some what's the word?
What do you mean? Well, you find the cat, you get it. Obviously you want to wait until it's not a little tiny kitten anymore. Otherwise, its mom will get mad at you. But you can adopt the cat, get it vaccinated, and then it's fine. Yeah, it's Shanghai. In my opinion, is a good place to have a cat because, it's not a good place to have an outdoor cat, obviously. But a lot of cats can be indoor cats, and they don't need to go out for walks, and you don't need to, and they don't mind living in a space that's a little bit smaller than maybe a big dog. So I find that city that's good if you want to have a cat.
Yep, they will look after themselves. I was trying to say, you obviously don't just want to go grab some cat off the street that you see. You want to see if there's some, I can't think of the word, but if there's some kind of spark between you guys, some kind of connection, then you'll take them home, obviously. Alex, I'm going to bring up one last question before we let everyone go, if I can find it. Oh, there it is. And I'll answer first and then you can answer. Someone said, Andy, any food products you miss from New Zealand? Actually, I really miss mince and cheese pies. We love eating mince and cheese pies or mince pies or steak and kidney pies. You can go to like the 7-Eleven. We don't have 7-Eleven, but I'll call it that. Like we were saying about languages before, we call it the dairy. I don't know if you would understand that, Alex. We go down to the dairy and grab a pie or whatever. That's what I miss. Alex, what do you miss from your home?
I guess we would call it the deli. The delicatessen, the deli. Anyway, so obviously as an American, our culture sort of like, for better or worse, kind of permeates the entire world. And so I can get most of the, I can mean like stuff like, I don't know, like this, so I get most of the things that from back home. I can get a lot of the different things. I would say certain styles of food, I spent most of my life in the Southeast. You see my South Carolina state flag here. And so I would say like the South Carolina style barbecue, right? It's always hard to get around here. And there are certain fast joints I miss. Obviously, we've got Popeyes over here and Five Guys and stuff like that, which were always kind of my favorites. Now we have those in Shanghai too. But I think, I think it's just little stuff like that, little sort of regional delicacies. There's no like particular product because most of that stuff we can get here. So
yeah, no, for sure. Definitely, like you say, American food is permeated across the world. So obviously it's available here in Shanghai where you can pretty much get every kind of thing. And also, you know, a lot of the things I miss from New Zealand are actually, you know, you probably say they're American food, but someone's just mentioned Royston M. Chips and dip. That's a really famous thing in New Zealand with reduced cream. You use reduced cream and the chips. So good. And someone else asked, Andy, I think this is to me because this is a New Zealand thing. Do you miss Big Ben pie? I really miss Big Ben pies. But anyway, you guys, we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to give you guys a look at the Shanghai scenery, live scenery, while I flash up some more of your comments. But we'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, same time, same place.
See you then.